Hello, my friends. This is Lynda Lippin, and welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Well, hello, everybody. One more time. Welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. This is your host, Lynda Lippin. And today I'm going to be talking about why we do Pilates. I'm going to share why I do Pilates, why I started doing Pilates, and share a couple of stories with you from some clients and some friends as to why they started doing Pilates. And if you don't do Pilates, this will give you a good idea, I think, of the benefits that you can get from the practice. And if you do Pilates, it may just get you thinking a little bit more about maybe digging a little bit deeper into your Pilates practice and getting a little more out of it. So I started doing Pilates when I was in college, and I've told this story before, but it warrants telling again in this episode. I was an undergraduate at SUNY Purchase. I had been a ballet student for many, many years, starting when I was in kindergarten, I think at 4. My mom took me in for my first ballet class. I absolutely loved it. And we did some Pilates exercises, I now know, as part of my ballet training. I was really lucky in Queens to have a local ballet school that was run by a woman who had been a Rockette for many, many years and a performing ballerina. She also had a relationship with the Harkness, a school of dance in Manhattan. So we were able to do some free work and use studio space at Harkness. And in general, I got a pretty solid ballet education in my little balanced dance studio in Jackson Heights. And as I grew up, I really loved ballet, but I knew I wasn't going to be a dancer. I had already kind of moved on to more academic interests. For me, I turned out to be more of a mind person necessarily than a body person, but I wanted to continue exercising. So I tried yoga, I tried calisthenics. In high school, I was introduced to weight training as part of gym, and I really loved that. And when I got to SUNY Purchase for my undergrad degree, I started hearing more about Pilates, but had never done it. So as part of my physical education requirements for Purchase, I took yoga for a semester. I took weight training for a semester. And then when I started becoming involved in student government, I realized that student government, this was the 80s, was helping to pay for the Pilates studio. It was a time when the government had started pulling back money from arts and humanities. And while the Pilates program at Purchase was started as part of the dance department, it had since then started running under the management of student government. We were funding it. And I was the director or VP of finance for student government. So I pretty much went in to see what they were doing with their money. They would come into these budget meetings. They would talk about the equipment they were building and the clients and what they were doing. I had no idea. But I did know that a lot of my dancer friends really loved it. So I went in and I loved the workout from my very first class. We were in larger classes. Rates for students were really inexpensive because, the studio is being funded from our student activity fees. And classes were larger, but they had enough equipment and great enough teachers that we would start out pretty much every group class with mat, and we would do, developmentally more and more advanced mat as we went on. There were also stall bars, kind of pull-up bars at each mat. So we got to play very early with some of the hanging exercises, which I loved. And then there were multiple reformers, high barrels, towers and Cadillacs, and all the things. So I was really lucky in the sense that I got to work on all of the equipment. I had great instruction, and I really left Purchase with a good, solid understanding of the Pilates system and how it worked, and with the mat really like embedded in me. So when I came to Philly to go to Temple for graduate school in philosophy, my second year, there was an ad in the Free City paper that just said part-time exercise instructors wanted, Pilates background preferred. And since I was a teaching assistant in the philosophy department, I wanted at least one of my part-time gigs to be something body related that really had nothing to do with academic philosophy. So I applied for this job. And when I went in, I was the only person to walk in who actually knew what the Pilates equipment was and how it worked. And I got that job, and it was working alongside a woman named Karen Carlson, who has been teaching for, I think, about 40 years now. Karen still teaches part-time in Philadelphia. And if you have a chance, look her up because she's absolutely wonderful, both as a human being and as a Pilates and dance teacher. Now, in that job, I got to work with a whole host of different clients because the studio was located in a sports medicine podiatrist office. So I got to work with football players. I got to work with union workers who had, hurt their backs. I got to work with dancers from the Pennsylvania Ballet, basketball players, all kinds of people. And I really got to see how well Pilates worked as a rehab method. And then as I started to kind of expand my Pilates wings, I really started to see also how it worked well as a good strengthening method, as a beginner strengthening method, as a cross-training method for folks who were professional athletes or, had other activities that they were doing like golf or tennis or whatever that looked like. Running marathons, running triathlons, doing Ironmans, whatever. And I just kept on consistently teaching Pilates part-time until I had a client who had such great outcomes from his Pilates with me that he decided he wanted to open a studio. And that's kind of how my full-time Pilates career was born. At that point, I had realized how toxic academia is. It was and still is, and wanted to be out of that situation. And this gave me a whole new field to kind of play in that I was very qualified for, and that allowed me to both teach and have the intellectual side plus have the body and movement side. For those of you who are teaching, I want you to know that when I started teaching, there was no internet. So if we had a client come in with an issue, we couldn't just go into a Facebook group and ask, what is this and what do I do? Or Google it. We had to actually go to the library and figure it all out. But I did. Or we had to call physical therapists, or we had to call doctors who we knew and try to piece together what to do and what not to do. And Pilates has gotten me through endometriosis and pelvic pain. Pilates got me through hysterectomies. Pilates have gotten me through lots of surgeries, lots of injuries, car accidents, boat accidents, other orthopedic stuff. And quite frankly, my knee surgeon right now is absolutely amazed at how much I'm able to do functionally. And I got to tell you that a huge chunk of that is from Pilates. not only being strong walking into the surgery, but also like as soon as I was able to start bending my knee, I started bending my knee. I started doing some single leg stretch. I started doing some supine footwork. I started working in that way, doing the ab series. As soon as I could start holding my leg up completely straight, I started working with leg circles. As soon as I could bend my knee and extend my hip, I started doing side kicks. I started doing bridging. So I think you can see how, I can basically take Pilates and the Pilates system that I know and bring it into pretty much any piece of my life where my body needs help and needs some work. And that for me is the great gift that Pilates has given me as well, as a way to earn an income. So that's why I do Pilates. I do Pilates because Pilates has never failed me. Okay. Pilates as a exercise method, as a system, has always been good for me, whether I've been pre-surgery, post-surgery, whether I've injured myself, no matter how I'm really feeling or how my body is, there is something in Pilates that will help me feel and function better and move forward quicker. And frankly, that's why I do it. And I have a few clients, and I've had a few clients over the years who also consistently do Pilates because they have also found that Pilates as their kind of main strengthening method and stretching method also allows them to do a whole lot of other things. So I'm going to give you first a story from two of the women who take my live 30-minute Strong Bones Pilates classes online. Okay, I teach these classes live. They're $7, just half an hour. I don't record them. You just show up, you do the workout, you go. They're essentially apparatus free. A couple of my ladies have gotten tie 4s, and so they wear those when they're doing class. And, I can cue them to the tie 4. But in general, it's body weight only. And a couple of women got on with me the other day and said, hey, we just helped a friend of ours move a treadmill over the weekend. We used all the body mechanics that you have taught us in your classes, how to move from our hips and our knees and our legs, how to hold our spine straight, how to pull in our abs without compromising our spines. And we were able to help our friend move this thing without injury and without a problem. And that, my friends, is why they do Pilates. Okay. So not only are they feeling and functioning better, but like when their friend needs help moving something, they can go help and do that without worrying about hurting themselves. Then I have a couple of women who take my regular Strong Bones Pilates studio classes. Those run usually around 40 minutes. And some of them involve small equipment like light hand weights or magic circles, barrels, whatever. And two of them who had pretty severe osteoporosis had recent DEXA scans and actually increased their bone density. Now, I want you to know that it is difficult to maintain bone density typically when you have active osteoporosis. My clients are gaining bone. Now, some of their doctors have said, well, it's not statistically significant, but, statistically significant to who? It's significant to my clients who now know that they're gaining a little bit of bone mass and bone strength instead of losing it on an annual or semi-annual basis. Okay, so they're super happy, and that's why they do modified for osteoporosis Pilates, but that's why they do Pilates. Then I have another client who is a Pilates professional like me, who has been teaching once again for over 30 years, but on the other coast. And she just told me that she had to order heavier hand weights because she's getting so much stronger from doing my Strong Bones Pilates studio classes. Now, on the other side, I have a few clients who do privates with me online. And once again, they are doing it for the same reason. They wish to feel and function at their best for as long as humanly possible. And that's the work that we do. So that if they're traveling or if they have to pick things up, some of them live here in Manhattan and walk up apartments. And, if they come back from grocery shopping with their shopping cart, they are schlepping a shopping cart of groceries up, 5 stories of stairs. And they're all able to do that. And they're able to do that because they're doing Pilates. And we're not even getting into the mental health benefits of this, right? We are just getting into the physical benefits of this. I have a few Pilates clients who are teachers who, like me, have unstable sacroiliac joints or hypermobile. And they do Pilates privates with me specifically to work on understanding how to do the exercises, including the advanced exercises, in a way that focuses on pelvic stability and doesn't hurt their backs anymore. So there's a whole host of reasons why we all do Pilates. Now, there's also attention, learning, and mental health benefits. So not only is your body getting stronger, but by moving your body in different relationships to gravity, you're also allowing the fluids to move, you're allowing the lymph to move, you are strengthening your heart and your cardiovascular system through some of the exercises. Once again, there's jumping jacks and there's other things that do come in to the Pilates system and that Joseph Pilates himself did teach. So if I'm saying cardio and you're like, when do we ever do that in Pilates? We do. Okay. You just may not be doing it in your classes, but you can push yourself that hard in Pilates. Although Pilates is generally anaerobic strength training with breathing as a large component. Now, if you've never done Pilates apparatus, it uses springs for resistance in addition to gravity and body weight. And that's, where the resistance training aspect comes in. But focusing on your body, focusing on coordinating your movements, then focusing on coordinating your movements with your breath, maybe going to a class so that you start to meet other people in class and build a community there. I interviewed a podcast guest this morning, and he just moved from Canada to Belgium. He's living in Antwerp, and he has built his entire social network from the Pilates classes that he's doing in the studio near his apartment. Okay, so people do Pilates for all kinds of reasons, but basically we do Pilates to feel and function at our best. And that's why Joseph Pilates did what he called contrology. That's why he developed the work and continued developing it when he moved to New York City, because he saw literally how much better people felt. I used to have a client maybe 20 years ago, and she used to say to me, we might limp in, but we always leap out. And then she would do it. she would sort of got into this thing where she would show up at the studio at, 6:30 or 7 at night when she was really, really tired. And she would kind of slump her way in. And then on the way out, she would basically have a lifted chest and her arms would be free. And she would just kind of sail out of the studio. And every single time she would go, we limp in, but we always leap out. And that's what I want folks to hold on to. I want folks to hold on to the fact that Pilates allows for that freedom of movement for feeling a little bit better. I've even had clients over the years who, do Pilates several times a week and who have told me that they really don't necessarily love doing it. And in fact, some days when they're in pain and they don't want to, they actually hate it, but they continue doing it because it helps them feel so much better. So if you would like to feel and function better, there are a few things you could do. Okay, number one, if you teach Pilates, you can come into my Pilates Teacher Mastermind free group on Facebook, or go to PilatesTeacherMastermind.com and check out the Pilates Teacher Mastermind VIP group. So this is where I have hours and hours of continuing education content, including teaching clients with back pain, neck pain, osteoporosis, all the things, as well as some business coaching, some mindset coaching, and monthly Zooms with me, and a smaller community of folks who are invested in the VIP program. If you are a Pilates client, if you're interested in privates, either in the studio here in New York City, where I have limited availability, or online, just reach out to me, Lynda at LyndaLippin.com. I'll put the link in the show notes for the email, and we can set up a schedule of private sessions for you, using small equipment, using mat, or again, using the full studio apparatus. You can also, if you are a woman over 50 and you have any kind of chronic pain, osteoporosis, back issues, hip issues, anything, go and to my website, click on the menu item for women over 50, and you will be directed to the Strong Bones Pilates Studio online, where I teach regular classes 4 days a week, using body weight and small equipment. And that is really where, my osteoporosis clients are seeing huge gains. Now, the workouts will be great for you, whether you have low bone density or not, because they are all weight-bearing, load-bearing exercises that are modified for lower bone density. So you're not going to hurt yourself either way. But you're going to get in a good, solid Pilates workout. You can also join my Strong Bones Pilates free Facebook group, where I do share trainings, latest science news, all the things about osteoporosis and chronic pain, as well as some free classes and workshops. So, my friends, I would love to hear some of your stories. Why do you do Pilates? And if you'd like to tell me, please either email me, Lynda at LyndaLippin.com, leave a written review for the show where you kind of let us know why you do Pilates, or send me a DM or leave a comment on any of the social media. And again, all of the links are in the show notes. So thank you so, so much for listening. And as always, if you love the show and get any value out of it, I would love it if you would go to the Apple Podcasts app or iTunes, or to Spotify or to Podchaser, and leave a rating, and if you can, a written review. And as always, I appreciate you, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Music brought to you by Nerd Salad. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you liked it. And please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks.